Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from ArtPlace.ca. For today's workshop, we're going to continue on working in our book of backgrounds, and this is a Doug 2014 portion of it, where we take a background from the book of backgrounds and create a piece of art on it. The inspiration for this one is this painting. Now I just created a paper doll journal page with something like this. Now I'm going to create a page or piece of artwork with this one here as reference. I'm going to be infusing this with a lot of visual texture, so it's not so much texture with paint. I'll be using book text and some tissue. So I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to be doing a sketch of this first. And I'm going to be using, for the paints, I'll be using DecoArt Media Fluid Acrylics. I may bring in some traditions, I'm not sure. We've got some our medium, but everything I use will be at the end of the video, so you're not having to take any notes or anything. So I'm going to put this, going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to grab my life drawing set, and you can use a journal or you can use drawing paper for your sketches. The reason why I'm really big on doing the sketches is because you can create paintings after the fact. So this is for the Anonymous Women series. This is Anonymous Woman 1, 2, 3, 4, and this will be Anonymous Woman 5. And I'm going to be doing this one with a graphite stick instead. So 4B, I want something quite soft. HB, that's not soft. I think it's a 6B. I think that's a 6B. I can't see that. So what I'm looking for is the body of the doll will be with a piece of book text, okay? And you can get like old recipe books and that. And then I'm also going to create a background with this. This is Tim Holtz Ideology paper tissue, but I want the word memory, and I'm going to put it on its side. All right. So I'm thinking I really want. Here's a piece from Mark Twain, and it doesn't really matter. The size is whatever size, but you just want to make sure that the book text is the body. So I know that keeping in mind I have to make my drawing like this, because I don't have any paper larger than this. So we've got to, and I'm working outlines. I'm not worried about proportions or anything. All I'm looking for is a rough outline. And then she's got her hat. Very thin neck. And once I have a form built, then I can get something in there. So that's what I'm looking for, something like that. Okay. So with that in mind, now I'm going to grab this. Now you can take this and you can, well, actually this way, and you can transfer it by rubbing like that. That'll transfer the graphite to the back, and then you can actually cut it out. Okay, I'm just going to sketch it freehand. I've got my book now. Just put my book on the side. And this is actually kind of small. I really wish I could have done something much, much bigger, because the outside page will look so big. Now I decided to bring, instead of using book text, I decided to bring this out instead because it was much larger. And so I'm going to take her head, her neck, arm, and the legs are going to come out with this dress here. And if you want to make it really random, do your drawing this way. Okay, so I know that her feet are going to be like this. The dress is going to be here. shoulder, neck, head. Like so. Their hat here. Right? And then the ground. So let's cut this out and see what we have. And make them totally random. Just, you know, you tear the paper, who cares? Ideally, when you're starting, because I've done a few of these, you make them bigger than you need to. Because if you have too much paper, well, that's easy enough to trim down. But if you've made it too small, you can't make it any bigger. Okay, so there's our lady. Okay, and that'll be where her feet are. So I'm just going to accent the background now. And for that, I thought what I would do, I'm also going to use that paper. I'm just going to use some Traditions paint. And get a paint scraper. Spread this paint around. Get a baby wipe. And start wiping some of it back. Try to keep things transparent. And all I'm doing is I'm kind of diffusing everything a little bit. Okay. And then just lighten the pressure. And I like using the Traditions for this part, for this particular background, because it's a bit thicker, it won't sink into all the little crevices. So now what I'll do is I'll take some phthalo blue, just a little bit, and do the same thing. Be careful with phthalo blue, it tends to get into everything. Some bubble wrap while this is wet. Okay. Actually, that's so wet. Let me just grab a... See, I smushed the phthalo blue around too much. I can wipe that back. That's okay. To diffuse that a little bit. go. This has got some random action going on here. And I'm going to get my paper towel core. And I'm going to mix some white into the blue, which become very intense. And dipping some in the white, some in the blue. There we go. That takes care of that. Let that dry for a sec. And now we're going to overlay this. We've got to dry this first before we collage the tissue on there. And just going to put that in water. And get rid of that. So I'm going to be using a combination of Traditions acrylics, the fluid acrylics. The good thing about these products is that they are interchangeable. You just can't mix them with oils. Nor would you want to. I'm just going to pick up the excess paint here. Okay. And grab our paper. So I'm going to dry fit this first. So there's a couple of ways that I can do that. If I wanted the word memory to be there, I could make it like this, but then this kind of leaves a big gap here. It just depends. That actually looks really pretty like that, doesn't it? Or we can do it this way, with the word memory right there, and paint her right on top. There's really no wrong way of doing it. It just depends on what you want. So there's this way, or this way. I want it to be more about the lady, so I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to trim this down here just to make it a little bit easier to handle. Okay. And I'm using the decoupage napkin medium. And I'm just going to get a large brush. And I'm just going to put that all over. And I got some paint on there as well, it doesn't matter. And the napkin medium is very, very thin, so it won't tear your tissue. Now you may want to put some down on your surface first if it's very textured. This one's relatively flat, it's not too bad, so I'm not going to have to worry about it. It's like laying wallpaper. Which is something I hated doing. Okay. There we are. And where I feel wrinkles, I'm going to push it down because there may be a wrinkle in this paper here. This is actually quite beautiful now. Now, as with all deco art mediums, wipe your hands right away because their mediums are so strong that, especially with the decoupage matte finish, even winning colors or 1000+ stain remover, I have trouble cleaning that off my hands. I have to really let it soak. Now just take a little bit of more of the medium and a very light coat on here. And then we'll let that dry. Okay, brush and water. So while this dries, I'm going to clean up my workstation and bring out the rest of the paints that I'm going to be using. So while the background's drying, I thought I would start working on the painting of the lady. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get her face, and I'm using only the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics. I'm using primary magenta, vermilion, primary yellow, burnt umber, and white. And I'm going to get that painted. I've got water in my brush because I want the writing to show through. Now, this is now backwards, so I have to keep that in mind when doing the paintings, backwards to my actual sketch. Okay, and then the arms. The dress is going to come down here. Pick up a little bit of water. And her legs below the dress. Now the reason why I didn't use the Decor extender is because this paper is very delicate. I wanted the paper to dry as fast as possible. Okay. And I'm just thinking now, I don't know why I chose white for the hat, because that's not going to work. I think I'll do this a green, because the paper's already white. Just a little bit of green. Make it a very, very bright green. There we go. And her dress, primary magenta, again with a little bit of water. Make sure that I can be careful there. Great project for kids. Now that the summer's school will be out very, very shortly. I was very, very tempted to bring out transparent red iron oxide for this, because that's one color that really spoke to me for this project. And you notice I'm not being too particularly careful about how I'm putting this down. Except right here. I'm not being terribly fussy. Okay. And I'm gonna another layer of paint on her face. And on her arms. And on her legs. That phthalo green is going to touch her somewhere, I don't know. And then orange now. So just orange where the light would hit. Right while the paint's still wet. There we go. And I think that her hat is a little too deep in color. Sorry, too green. I'm going to go back over with yellow and a speck of white. I just kind of draw around like so. And just use the white to make little lines. And retouch. When you wash your brush, make sure you get all the water off the handle as well. There we go. Like so. Now I think I take a little bit more of the magenta. Speck of green, which will make it purpley. Purpley, so that's a real name, purpley. And just a layer, a rough layer. You don't need to paint it all that color. Like so. Okay. And then another layer of just pure primary magenta on the other side. That takes care of that. Whoops. I see a little bit of arm showing, the white showing here. We can always put in more, once we glue this down, we can put more paint on it. I'm going to put this aside. Grab my page. And we're going to put her right here. So while that's drying, I'm thinking, you know what would be really cool? Because I have a butterfly in here. I've got a really nice butterfly stencil. So I've got all my stencils put in here. And I've got, oh, there it is. I use a stencil a lot. Yeah, I use a stencil a lot. What color should she be? Well, why don't we just make her, what colors do we have? I'll have to get my number 8 Bristle Bright. Why don't we make it a little bit of magenta? The primary magenta. Because don't forget, you can always wipe it down if it's too much. Now watch how I'm going to do this. I'm going to lift this up. Is that too much? It could be. I'm just doing this more to show you. You can take your baby wipe now and wipe it right while the stencil's still on there. And that's going to prevent stuff from smushing. The other thing you can do too while this is wet, sprinkle some glamour dust and it'll only go in those spots there. There we go. And if it's still too bright, take another baby wipe, put it on top, press with your hands. And what'll happen is the baby wipe will just moisten the paint and just suck it right into the fabric. Just don't wipe. There we are. Now before I glue this one down, I'm going to move this to here a bit. I'm going to take some Traditions True Silver. Take my paper towel core. Just a little bit of bling, not too much. Oh, and I did forget one thing to bring out. I'll have to show you after. Okay. Gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna distress some white paint over here, really make it look aged. We're gonna glue her down, and then we're gonna take some metallic luster and do the edges as well. Okay, I couldn't resist. I brought out my transparent red iron oxide. Could not resist. And you want to put this down where it's a relatively clean part. And I'm going to get my fan brush. A bit of water. And you can use glazing medium for this if you want. And just put it on willy-nilly. And grab a paper towel and just rub. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. So you get all those different. Now look how she pops now. Really, really bright. If there's an area where you want to lighten it up a little bit, let's say with the memory, I can highlight that out. I can highlight that out. Okay, see how the contrast really enhance that if I wanted to. That's pretty pretty. And I'm gonna roll back and find my transparent yellow iron oxide. This is also very, very bright. Going to do the same thing. And I'm going to do that right here, where the wording is. More paint, instead, no water. Like so. And I can just take this and just light wipe. And where the word memory is, so, any word that you really want to enhance, you can bring that out. And you can randomly push the paint, see how it distresses a little bit. Okay, really nice. Like so. Now what I better do before I get too sidetracked is trim down the tissue. There we go. And put her right there. Just going to quickly hit that with the heat gun. I've got copper kettle, a clean paper towel. Actually, you know what I could do too? This is really neat. You need a dry brush for this though. I'm going to take my foliage brush, just go back and forth, load a little bit onto your brush. A little bit more than that. And what it does is it gets all these nice streaks in there without putting too much down. I don't know if you can see that. Just be careful when doing this on the paper. Okay. The other way that you can do this is a clean paper towel. And just go around, pick it up like that, and just rub and apply. And then when you're done, go to a clean side and press very hard, and what that does is it buffs it in and becomes permanent. Just be careful where the paper is. So now I accidentally covered the word memory. What do? Take your paper towel on the clean side with water and go right over it, and it comes right up. It's water soluble. Just in case you put too much on. And when you're done, just blot with a paper towel. That's it. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is a little bit, it might be a little bit strong in the darkness. So I can take my brush, a little bit of titanium white, and just randomly put some strokes. Preferably the fan brush that's not too wet. And it puts in some nice lines. You can take a little bit of the magenta. Try to do this so when the white's dry. So now that'll put some of the some of the background into the dress. The only thing that's not in there is the green, which doesn't really matter, but you can just hit it with there's a few lines there, like so. That's a bit strong. So I'm just going to blot that up a bit. Put her on. And I'm thinking I want more white. You don't have to do this part. I just like the bold lines. So it's almost like I'm putting a halo around her without being too obvious about it. There we go. You can do this any way you want. Now it's time to glue her down. And, oh, before, I'm going to go back into the silver. Just put just a few lines. There we go. She's going to go right here. Best way to do that is just straight on palette paper. And I guess it would have helped if I would have brought out the decoupage paper. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. I had to make sure I had the right one. And I'm just going to completely soak her because the paper is really curved. Okay. Right there. if you painted your lady with watercolors, you would have to apply some type of fixative down there so the watercolor didn't wipe up. Okay, I'm going to take some more of this just on the top. This will seal her into the background. What's that? Put that in water. I'm going to cover this right away. Now I'm going to let this dry. I'll let this dry for about, maybe 15 minutes, and we come back. She'll be all done, and then we can paint an actual floor for her to be standing on. Right, the one last thing I want done before we finish this off, I'm going to take my charcoal pencil soft, and I'm just going to put on the very outside edge go right around the paper. You don't have to cover every single piece, but if you can, that's fine. You'll find it harder on some of the areas where the decoupage is down. Like here I'm having trouble because the decoupage is it's made up like a barrier. So I'm not gonna force it because I'll tear the paper. Now as well here, I'm going to kind of like fix that with a box, like so. I mean, it's torn here, so I'm gonna just put that line right here, like so. Take a wet brush and very roughly just outline that. You can also do this just with black paint if you want. And just a paper towel and just wipe some of that back. We're just calling emphasis to this. And you know what I'm thinking? I want to highlight that even more. So let's do it with yellow, pure yellow. And we're going to wipe some of this back, so don't worry. That's why I'm grabbing water. And black and yellow make green, make some type of green depending. I find that a lot with ivory black. It works the same way with carbon black too. That's why this looks a little bit green. Oh yeah, the word memory. Forgot about that. Okay. And then with this now, you can use paper towel, you can use baby wipe, you can use, you know what you can even do? Oh, that'd be cool. I don't know if I have enough on here though. Bubble wrap. I don't know if I have enough. No, not really. Not really, not really, not really. But what I could do is just distress it a little bit. There we go, like so. get a little bit of black. Yeah, I know, it didn't even put on my palette. I have to change my paper, so that's fine. This is show you, if you don't have the charcoal, with the brush with a very fine point. And what you're doing, you're just putting the black inside. Now see that, how strong that is? You wouldn't leave it like that. Okay, you take your baby wipe and you blot it down. But look how nice that is, how nice and soft. Just don't let it dry. Oops, I got on her dress. And this works really well where the decoupage was, because it creates a natural barrier. And just do this as many times as you want, and it'll just become a little bit stronger each time. See? I like that. I want to make it a little bit stronger around her head. There we go. And you can take the leftover black and just a place for her to stand. There we go. And with that, I'd say we are done. So I really like that. So I hope that you enjoy this project and give it a shot. It's a great way to just take bits and pieces of things and just build a piece of artwork. And from here, I mean, you can boost it up to whatever you want. You can layer more things, and you can do more distressing and more vintage stuff. It's completely up to you. But I really like where this came from. All from inspiration from this to the sketch to this. So join me for the next project when we continue on with the Doug 2014 series. And until then, stay inspired.